Probably the books that I have read most, in other words, more than once, are all The Lord of the Rings. I really, really love the poetry in those books. It's so evocative. When you read the little songs, you can hear the music in the songs. It's right there in the words of the scansion. And I got quite fascinated, of course, with the other books, the Middle Earth during the First Age, or the Second Age, before the Third Age. Those are a little more fragmentary, but they were fun to read. I'm a big science fiction fan, though. And here we could go on all night, but the three authors that I really like a lot are Isaac Asimov, who did the Foundation series and the Robot series and eventually brought them together in the most clever way. Robert Heinlein, who's passed away now, but he's written a great many books, and they all have the character that they are nuts and bolts kind of science fiction. They're extrapolations of known physics, which I rather like a lot. There's also a guy named Orson Scott Card, who did Ender's Game and what is the Seventh Son, a whole series like that. It's very different. This is not nuts and bolts science fiction. This is a kind of alternate history, but it's also evocative, and he gets into the minds of his characters in ways that most other authors don't. So those are just three examples of things I really enjoy.
Here I have a silly question.
Here's a silly question. Okay, what's the silly question?
Thinking about like science fiction, do you think someday we'll be able to teletransport
I mean, the Star Trek.
I don't know, but teletransport, do you think it's going to be possible in the future? Do you think we are going to be able to move like a plant or an animal, move it from one place to the other through a network?
Well,
science fiction.
well, let's see. First of all, in a very crude way, we can do this. I don't know if you've ever seen these three-dimensional reproducing devices, but they use lasers in order to cement, so to speak, the materials, plastic materials. So you can send the instructions across the net and rebuild something on the other end. And you could pretend that you almost transported the object, right? Because you can do a laser scan on this side, figure out what the object's structure is, send the instructions to the other side and reproduce that. And if you can't tell the difference between the two, then you've effectively transported the object. That's true of fundamental particles too. If you move a particle from point A to point B or reproduce it, if the reproduced particle has exactly the same state as the original particle, they're indistinguishable. Moving people is another whole other problem. The amount of information required to do that and the ability to capture the entire state of the individual frozen is way beyond any current technology that I can think of right now. So I see that as still Star Trek in the 24th century. Not something we have any real clear idea of how to do. I wish we did. It'd beat the heck out of sitting in traffic, you know, yeah, out here especially. But I think we're a little ways away from making that work.
Have you had a chance to...
One more question.
Okay.
We were discussing this yesterday, and we know that...
You were disgusting yesterday?
No, discussing this. We were we were discussing that our kids, when they're going to school, they're going to learn about you. They're going to study you along with a lot of characters. So, but The stuff that they're going to read about is what's going in the history books.
Yes.
What would you like us to tell our kids about Vinton Cerf?
Well, first of all, he was really very, very lucky that he happened to be in the right place at the right time with an opportunity to experiment with computer networking. And it really was just luck. I happened to be at UCLA. One of my thesis advisors happened to be the guy who ran the Network Measurement Center for the ARPANET project, and I needed a job, and so I ended up being the programmer for the Network Measurement Center. Second, people have offered me opportunities to do things that I wouldn't have thought of doing, and I might even have said no to. In fact, I did say no a few times, and they wouldn't let me say no. So the thing I discovered and learned is that instead of saying no because you think you might fail, you should take the risky option because it's the one that will be the most interesting. And I have had some really wonderful, pretty risky options, including coming to Google. For me, it's being around young people who aren't afraid of new ideas and who sometimes say, why don't we do X? And I'll say, oh, we tried X 25 years ago and it didn't work. And then I remind myself there was a reason it didn't work 25 years ago, and that reason may no longer be true. So it's time to go think maybe we should do X because it's the right thing to do now. You don't get that if you hang around with a bunch of old farts. You have to hang around people who don't know you can't do that. And so the thing I love about Google more than anything is that we have a lot of young people. Remember, my definition of young keeps changing. And second, they aren't afraid to try stuff out. And this is a company that encourages that. So, you know, Vint Cerf was glad to be of service and appreciated the opportunity given to him to do that.
Denko